Hello, everyone. Hi,
Hi, so great to see you all.
I'm Patricia Grabark. If you don't know me, a co-founder of Workr Beeing, and I'm here with my co-founder, Katina Sawyer.
Hi, everyone.
We're super excited to talk about some top tips for wellness in 2024. I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm just getting over a little bit of a cold for my, coughs and creaky voice, but we are really excited to be here to talk about the top 5 tips that we have for employee wellness. And we'll kind of give an overview of, what we've done to get here and a little bit of a sneak peek into those tips. But we do have a full report that you can download if you're on LinkedIn. In the comments, we've added the link to where you can go and access the report. So yeah, Katina, do you want to start maybe telling us about, how we got here?
Yeah. So, as you know, at Workr Beeing, part of our primary mission is to make the science of workplace wellness available and accessible to employees everywhere. And so, as part of that, as Patricia mentioned, we are making this report free for anyone who wants to download it. And the way that we got to coming up with this idea to create this downloadable was that we realized that there are a lot of people who are struggling to understand how to make decisions about what to prioritize in the wellness space. There are a lot of different offerings, things that you can do, ways that you can move forward to try to create happier and healthier workplaces. But we noticed that a lot of people are confused as they try to wade through all those options, which things might be top of mind and which things you could maybe put to the side for a bit. And so here we're providing you with our top tips that we got from scouring both the academic research and practical reports that have come out from large consulting firms, in addition to conversations that we've had with wellness professionals and HR professionals to try to understand what companies that are on the cutting edge are doing. So this report's really a compilation of those insights that we found that we put together in an easy to use format for you to be able to share them with your team.
Yes. So maybe we can start with talking about the tips because I think, yeah, everything that we did is super important. I'm glad we laid that out. But I do want people to start maybe taking away some of the tips too. So we're going to talk a little bit about those, give you a sneak peek into them, and then we can, again, make sure you can get that link in our LinkedIn live comment section so that you can download the full report. But as Katina mentioned, what we care about here is the science. And so we're really focusing on making sure we're bringing forward what we know is actually going to work versus just what is out there for fun. So I'll start with tip 1, if you don't mind.
That's awesome. Sounds good.
Okay. So the first tip is to move beyond physical health initiatives. So we often hear about companies really spending time to focus in on like step challenges or providing access to all these different physical health tools. And those are great, but that's not all of wellness. So, that as our first tip, I think there's some things that you can do as an organization to kind of move beyond that and think about wellness a little bit more holistically.
Yeah. And kind of going hand in hand with some of that and thinking about how organizations might move beyond some of the more traditional programs. Another tip that we have in the report is to think about wellness as including mental health also. Mental health is something that's very top of mind for employees. And we know, post pandemic, there's been a lot of effort on the part of companies to do more to raise awareness about mental health and the importance of mental health. But employees really don't feel like employers are quite there yet. So we have some tips in the report about how you might deliver on some of those promises that you may have made in post-pandemic life to improve your employees' well-being from a mental health perspective.
Yes, I think mental health is a great way to round out and move away from that physical health piece. And that kind of then leads into our third tip, which is around work-life balance. And I know some people hate the word work-life balance, work-life integration might be a topic, what have you, but really the concept is what's important here and focusing on how to help people have some flexibility in their life, be able to enjoy their personal life as well as, their work. So having that balance where you're not just working nonstop is super important. And so thinking about ways that you can move through work-life balance initiatives and how do you create that right environment so people can have more of that balance is super important. And so in the report, we do touch upon like different ways that you can think through specific work-life balance ideas and initiatives.
Yeah, and a lot of companies now are talking about return to work initiatives and whether or not they should do those. And we touch a little bit on that too in that particular tip around, well, it's not really about where all the time, it's about how, and some flexibility on multiple fronts. So I think if you're struggling with some of the back to work versus remote initiatives and which direction to go in, this might shed some light on some ways that you might address that. And actually, that leads into our next tip pretty nicely, because the concept of work-life balance is really all about what it means to the individual employee. What looks like balance for you might not be balance for somebody else. And because of that, we find that cookie cutter approaches to employee well-being are not really the best way to go about doing employee wellness. And so we have a tip in here about how to incorporate your employees into the planning process for wellness so that their voices are heard and you can create more tailored solutions that meet their needs, as opposed to using sort of canned or traditional approaches that may or may not reflect what your employee population actually wants.
I think that one's super important. It's something that we miss a lot in organizations, right? We don't see people thinking about it from an individual level that often. And yet that was one of the biggest themes from the research that we've done, is that it really matters that it's based on what the individual needs and not kind of just this like cookie cutter or like just a bunch of random things just thrown at people to kind of figure out what they need, on their own, but being able to support. And that kind of leads to the last tip, which is about supporting wellness, not from um, the bottom up, but really from the top down. So it's like you want to make it individual, but you want the leaders to be involved in that and really supporting employee wellness. So it's not, again, giving solutions to employees and hoping that they can take advantage of it and just leave it to themselves. It's more about guiding that support, really having real conversations and being able to kind of change the way the organization functions from a systemic level versus an individual level. So you're supporting the individual with their individual needs, but you're changing the system to make it better and easier for people to actually meet their needs versus employees kind of having to navigate the waters all themselves.
Yeah, and in our research, that there's more news on that to come. We have some exciting developments happening there. In our research, we find that leaders are really the crucial key set of individuals within your organization who need to be on board and acting in accordance with supporting employee health and well-being, or else employees are not going to feel like their job is doing so. And leveraging leaders, and this is leaders of all types, all levels, right? If you're a people leader of any kind, even if you just have one person who reports to you, you have some ownership and some responsibility to really think through what employees need from a health and well-being perspective, and to recognize the importance and the power that you have. So we're going to be talking a lot more about that in the weeks and the months to come as we're preparing for sharing our independent research with all of you. But for now, it's also reflected in our top tips because we clearly think it's very important.
Yes, those are the top 5. Again, our report has more details, so we're super excited for you to be able to read it, take a look. We have the link again in our LinkedIn Live. There's a link to the report itself. So please go check that out, download your report, and make sure that you're able to start leveraging that. I mean, this is really important for 2024. It's still a huge topic of conversation, is employee wellness, trying to make better workplaces. And so hopefully these top 5 tips can really help drive that change that you need within your own organization. So go ahead and download that report now.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And if you have any feedback or any questions for us, please get in touch. We're always happy to interact with all of you. We love hearing what you think of what we're doing, and to be involved in or answering any questions you might have as you start to apply these tips at work.
Yeah. Thanks all for being here. We'll talk soon.